Record, okay, fine. It's going. I hope it doesn't, I hope the duration has been set so that it doesn't stop after 20 minutes like it did last time, remember?
Well, if, then we should just restart the whole thing in the same link, please.
Okay, all right, so bike tour number 2, motorcycle tour number 2 with Michael Hoch at CERN, accompanied by a colleague of his, Hans-Peter Beck, who is actually representing what we can fondly call the opposition, which is the other large LHC discovery experiment, Atlas, okay? And myself in the studio at home. What Michael was showing there, Stephanie, if you can mute, are you muted, Stephanie? Yeah, okay. But I see only you, I don't see the other, I don't see what we should be looking at. Why is that? Maybe you can switch your video off and then we won't.
If you unpin your video, there's like
That's
little
right.
dots in the corner.
Yeah, okay. So we want to see, what we want to see is Michael, and I don't see Michael.
Yes, well, maybe I need to make some noise.
Oh, okay, you've made some noise, so that's it, you've got it. So let me just tell you where we are. Michael has just come in through the main gate of CERN. He's monocycled down the road. He's passed on his right-hand side route Einstein, because all the roads at CERN are named after famous physicists. So you actually meet one of the most famous ones as soon as you enter. And he's come to a building which is actually very old. It's the building actually that many years ago, when I first came to CERN, this is the first building that I entered on CERN, on the CERN site. And he has an office in this building. In fact, he has an office and a sort of a workshop room. It could also be called a junk room, but we won't call it a junk room. And he's actually now giving you a tour of his second office, because we're hoping to find there, if you can find it, I hope it's not disappeared, is actually
No.
Oh, there it is.
Nothing disappeared.
It's something which actually is very relevant for today's tour. Now, to you and to most people, it would look like quite an old computer. There's the keyboard, you can see the screen, the actual CPU is in the corner, and there's a big black box, really. It's just a big black box. It looks very old. It looks as if it's been there for a long time. So oh, wait a minute, it says this is the name of the computer. This is not an HP, it's not a Dell. It's not something that you've probably ever heard of. It's a Next computer, We're going to come back to that in a few minutes, but because we're going to leave this building now, remember that Next computer. If you want to ask a question, you can. Don't forget, you can ask a question, either type in the chat or actually you can speak. Okay, so Michael is actually now going to jump on his motorcycle and he's going to ride not too far. He's going to cross the road into, actually, it's a very interesting, one of CERN's most interesting, not the most interesting, but certainly a very interesting visit point. So
Mick,
here he goes down his corridor. Off you go. Can you ride down the corridor?
Yeah, of course. Hans-Peter will film me.
Okay, yeah. Off you go. Go.
You just this is you, and change. Okay. You have to switch the camera. Also, ready?
Go.
Yes.
We have to be careful because people make.
He's probably breaking all safety regulations at CERN at this point in time, so we might have to cut this out of the video. I'm not sure. I don't think you're really encouraged to ride bikes
I'm out of this. Wait, I just have to have my CERN card.
He's looking for his CERN card because to get into the visit point where he's going, you need to have an access card.
But I need it anyway. It's better. So let me go back. Because of course I changed my.
I can't believe this. Actually, I can believe it. Actually, it's okay.
Here it is.
Back into the office. There I am. He's got his access card now. So off we go again down the corridor. What we're actually going to see is what remains of CERN's first ever particle accelerator. It's called the Synchro Cyclotron. It came online in 1957. The first CERN was opened in 1954. So,
okay, so we go.
After CERN was opened, this accelerator had been built and it became operational. So he's going to take us inside the 5-meter thick walls, which shield the accelerator from the environment outside. Because of course, you don't want to get near an accelerator when it's running. So the walls that we're going to go through are 5 meters thick. Okay. Here we go.
Here we come.
So this is the door.
So do you see me again?
Yeah, we see you.
Let's just change.
Show us the building. Show us the building.
I'll show you the building. Well, I will make a short ride because I explained them. You already how it was called before we reopened the exhibition inside. Just let me go a little bit back, then you see a little bit more. Because as Mick explained, there are big concrete walls around for safety. So you see, and this is the entrance. And afterwards, they built a big office building around. The office building came later. Now, if we enter here, just park my bike here, and let's enter.
So you're going back in time now. You're going back to 1957. Okay, 1957.
So
the building hasn't changed.
I think it's better if you take off the whole.
And now we are somehow in the very first accelerator infrastructure at CERN.
Okay, I don't understand why we keep seeing Stephanie and not you.
Stephanie, can you mute?
Yes, please.
Okay, here we go. So this is the Synchro Cyclotron. Exactly as it was in 1957. There are some bits missing, but it's basically pretty much what it was in 1957. It's okay to go in there now. It was slightly radioactive when they switched it off. That's why they left it there. It's also extremely heavy. So they just left it there. And what Michael is now showing you is a film of...
Not just a film.
It's
an animation.
It's an animation. Shows you the history of CERN. So what we're looking at here is 1949. That's when a few smart people got together and proposed to UNESCO that that's Louis de Broglie, and French Nobel Prize winner.
Mick,
yeah.
Don't you hear the sound?
No, that's why I'm speaking. Okay, now that's better.
18 months later, 12 European nations formally agreed to create.
Nick, can you mute? Then my picture should be big for everybody.
The acronym CERN is born. Important decisions are taken in the first sessions of the new council. Geneva is chosen as the seat because of its central location in Europe and its international tradition. 2 accelerators are put forward, the Synchro Cyclotron and a much larger machine, the proton synchrotron. A new convention defines CERN's goals, stating that its research will have no concern with military requirements and that all its results should be made public. The CERN convention is signed by 12 nations. Among the signatories are eminent physicists such as Werner Heisenberg. CERN comes into existence. 1954. On a site in Milan, a small village near Geneva, work for the new laboratory begins. Within a year, the farmland is transformed into a large complex of workshops, offices, and buildings to house the new accelerators. The 5-meter thick walls of the Synchro Cyclotron buildings emerge, while the different parts of the new accelerators are manufactured in several European countries. The Synchro Cyclotron's magnet coils require particular care to pass through some of the Swiss villages on their way to Milan. As components arrive, they are assembled with great precision. Everything starts to take shape. The Synchro Cyclotron emerges piece by piece. Some 54 elements together for the magnet frame. A total of 2,500 tons of steel. Next, the 2 7.2-meter diameter magnet coils are installed. With a current of 1,800 amps, they generate a magnetic field of 2 meters. A rectangular vacuum tube is fixed inside the magnet. A system of large vacuum pumps is installed to evacuate the 25 cubic meter chamber so that protons can circulate underneath. This is followed by the installation of 2 D-shaped electrodes inside the vacuum chamber. Together with these electrodes, a radio frequency generator creates the electric fields. That accelerate protons from a source inserted in the center of the vacuum chamber. In summer 1957, the Synchro Cyclotron is ready, and CERN's first accelerator comes to life. The purpose of the Synchro Cyclotron is to produce and study new particles. Before accelerators were available, such particles could only be observed in cosmic ray experiments. The new machine accelerates protons to 80% the speed of light, producing millions of new particles when those protons collide with the target, giving scientists the opportunity to make systematic measurements. Operation of the ESC requires a sequence of actions. Massive pumps extract the air from the vacuum tube so that protons do not collide with gas molecules during their acceleration. In the proton source, hydrogen gas ions and a cloud of protons is injected into the middle of the Synchro Cyclotron. The accelerator makes use of magnetic and electric fields. The magnetic field is produced by a current of 1,800 amps flowing through the coils of the huge magnet. 2 D-shaped electrodes with opposite polarity are fixed inside the vacuum chamber in the middle of the magnet. Protons have a positive charge and are drawn towards the negative electron as they traverse the gap between the electrons. The magnetic field forces them to follow a circular trajectory, and they return to the gap after one half turn. Meanwhile, the radio frequency generator reverses the polarity between the two electrons. The protons are now attracted to the opposite electron and gain more energy. This process is repeated over and over again. Every time the protons make a half turn, they are moved around faster, and the radius of the path increases. After more than 100,000 turns, they reach an energy of 600 million electron volts and move 80% of the speed of light. They are now close to hitting time, and the first experiments begin. In 1957, young scientists from all over Europe arrived. Among them are Maria and Giuseppe Fidegari. Giuseppe wants to study a short-lived particle called the pipe. In 1957, there was a mystery surrounding the pipe. Theory predicted that a direct decay into an electron and a neutrino should happen, but this had never been observed.
Phenomenology. Only later on, 1957, when the problem was that there was some kind of solid rectangle basis. But the moment the absence of the final decay was very difficult, the block of the physics into two was the effect like that. And was at that time.
Michael, show us the subtitles, please. It's easier. Thank you.
Giuseppe and his team set up a clever experiment. The pilots were stopped in an apparatus designed to study their subsequent decay. In 1958, only a few hours after they started the experiment, the first pictures showed clear evidence for this flare decay. This first important discovery spread CERN's name around the world. Over the following years, scientists at the SC continued to make many important measurements on particles, atoms, and nuclei. 1967, a new idea takes shape called ISOL, an isotope separation device. Protons from the Synchro Cyclotron collide with target nucleon that is split into short-lived fragments, which are then rapidly scrutinized in experiments. The study of some short-lived nuclei with too many non-smooth neutrons helps to understand how heavy elements are produced in exploding stars. The Synchro Cyclotron accelerates its last beats in December 1990. After 33 years of an exceptionally long and successful career, the SC is retired.
We felt that the Synchro Cyclotron had worked very well, much more long even for much more long than what I expected. Because you knew it in the field of physics, so for 70 years. But it was still there in the field that had
Following the Synchro Cyclotron's construction, CERN built bigger and bigger accelerators. The proton synchrotron, the intersecting storage rings, the superproton synchrotron, the large electron-positron collider, and the large hadron collider. Many important achievements were made, some of them being rewarded with the Nobel Prize. The drift chamber, which revolutionized particle detection. The cooling of particle beams. The discovery of the carriers of the weak interaction. And the Higgs boson, which proves the existence of the Brown-Inglet Higgs field. In 1989, Tim Berners-Lee, while working at CERN, created the World Wide Web. The Large Hadron Collider will continue to run at high energy and high intensity, with more than 11,000 scientists from over 100 nationalities, hoping for new insights into the secrets of the universe.
I think that yours inside that our reason talk about what matters. So it will be always a set. So there will be set in the future.
What started once as a vision for European science has grown into a unique model for global scientific and technological collaboration. CERN demonstrates how science can unite nations and contribute to a better world.
Okay, that's the film that we often show visitors when they come to CERN. For us who work at CERN, it's actually quite a poignant film because the two people that you saw in that film normally would be here at CERN today. They've been coming to CERN since the 1950s. They are both more than 90 years old, Maria and Giuseppe Fidicaro. They met when they were very young. They got married in Italy. They went to work in Liverpool to work on an accelerator experiment in Liverpool. Then they came to CERN in 1957. They're wonderful people. We hope that we will be able to introduce you to them virtually. It would be fantastic if you could meet them in person. They're normally to be found in the restaurant every day. And if we have visitors, quite often, especially young people, we will take them and just say hello. We don't swamp them with 50 visitors. We just say hello. And Maria in particular is always, she's a lovely lady and she is always got kind words to say to young students. I particularly like the last words that she said. There will always be a CERN, which means there will always be a future. She says that from her heart. On the wall there, you see a few of the guys who proposed to UNESCO in 1949 to build CERN, to build a facility that would stop the brain drain from Europe to the United States. There's Robert Oppenheimer, by the way, head of the Manhattan Project. He was one of the people who proposed to have this laboratory built that would allow European scientists to do their research. Okay, very famous physicist Ugo Amaldi there. Eduardo Amaldi. He was the first general secretary of CERN. His son is still very active in the field. His son actually has moved on from particle physics, pure particle physics. He founded a foundation called the Terra Foundation, which focuses on the medical applications of particle physics, which we have not talked about too much, but using protons to zap tumors. Okay, and this is done now, not everywhere in the world, but it is a very important tool for medical physics. Okay, here's Werner Heisenberg. Werner Heisenberg, very famous German physicist, and here we have Niels Bohr from Denmark. Niels Bohr from Denmark. Next to him, there's a guy who's not actually a physicist. He's called Francis de Rose. He was actually a French diplomat at that time. And at that time, the Americans were not so keen to build a facility, a particle physics or nuclear physics facility in Europe. And he was one of the people, he had friends, diplomatic friends in Washington, and he was one of the guys that said, no, it's okay. This is not a military lab at all. It's pure fundamental research working for humankind. And so thanks to him that CERN was built. In 2004, it was the 50th anniversary of CERN, and we had a big celebration, and lots of people were invited, kings and presidents and people like this. He was also there. He was more than 90 years old. All of these very famous people gave speeches, and he gave a speech. I wasn't present, but I'm told that his speech was the best. Maybe not surprising. Maybe Hans-Peter can tell us about one of these guys, but there's one of these guys, he's called Pierre Auger, and today there's a laboratory for cosmic ray physics, which is in Latin America. Okay, so those are the guys who, or some of the guys, who got together and persuaded UNESCO in 1949 to found CERN. Surprisingly, it only took 5 years. And here's a blackboard on which is Giuseppe's famous result. Giuseppe was so excited. He's still excited about this today. And if you want to sit down and talk to him, he'll tell you all about it. Okay, so that was his famous result. And along the wall here, you have some equipment that they used to use back in 1957. You can even see a telephone. You know, CERN had real telephones for some time. You can see a typewriter. There's a typewriter there if Michael moves to the right. And you look at the keyboard of the typewriter, you will see, maybe you can see if he holds his camera still, this is actually a Swiss typewriter. It's QWERTZ, not QWERTY. Now, when I have young students here, I often ask them, does anybody know why the keyboard is laid out in this extremely strange way? And somebody sometimes says, well, it's to help you to type fast. And I say, no, it's exactly the opposite. It's to help you to type slow, because if you type too fast on one of these devices, the keys get jammed. So the keyboard was designed to make you type slow. And guess what? That's the keyboard that we still use today. Next is an oscilloscope. We still use oscilloscopes in schools, in electronics laboratories. That's an early oscilloscope to look at the electronic traces. And that's what was used when Giuseppe made his famous discovery, almost immediately after the SC was actually switched on. If you move round to the left, Michael, and look at the clock in the far corner, if you go past the door, there's to the left, keep going left. Look at the clock. Can you see the clock? At the side, okay, at the side here. So there's a clock here, and it says, it reads 4:30. That's the time that the SC was switched off in 1990. On the right of that, you see some tools, some big tools. You can see that in order to build an accelerator in those days, you had to be almost a gorilla. You had to be a super fit guy like HP.
Maybe you should say that HP is almost 2 meters tall.
Right. And he does lots of workouts in the gym, but I think even he might have a trouble manipulating some of these tools. Okay, I think we should leave the SC now, Michael. But as we go out, we go through the 5 meter thick walls and just show that today these 5 meter thick walls have been transformed into a timeline. There are actually 2 timelines. They start way back in 1957 with the start of the SC. Well, back in 1951, and they
Hey, Mick,
actually
we're-
trace. Yes.
I just wanted to let you know we're about to lose Zoom. We have less than a minute left on this call, so we're going to have to rejoin.
Okay.
Yes, so if
So what do
please.
I do? I stop.
Well, I just wanted to let you know we're about to be cut off.